But the fight isn't over for Democrats, so what can the party do to secure seats ahead of November's midterms? CBS News political contributor and Democratic strategist Antjuan Seawright says it comes down to messaging. And Antjuan joins us from Cleveland now with more. Hi there, Antjuan. Good to see you. So tell us, what are Democrats doing when it comes to messaging, and how are they trying to avoid repeating perhaps some past missteps on various issues?
Well, there's a lot of conversation out in the ecosystem, both downstream and upstream, that Democrats have no message. I fundamentally disagree based on facts. I operate in facts, not feelings. Truth be told, this president and this Congress has perhaps been one of the most effective in modern day history when you consider the fact we have the slimmest majorities in our nation's history with the party having power. And so when I look at items like the IRA that just passed, the the Inflation Reduction Act, and there's talk about how no Republican vote for it, yet they're going to take credit for it when the benefits flow down. It's a lesson that we should have learned as a party from the 2010 election cycle, when the Affordable Care Act was the biggest liability, but in 2018 it became the biggest asset. We lost in 10, we won in 18, and it's because we have to start eating the political elephant one bite at a time, as Desmond Tutu laid out. Most of these proposals, when you look at them on the surface, they're big, they're hard for people to digest all at one time, but when you break them up piece by piece, and this applies to every piece of legislation that has passed the Congress, whether Republicans voted for it or not, they all poll above 50% among the American people. That's Democrats and Republicans, independents alike, regardless of whether Washington, D.C. Republicans supported the legislation or not.
Antjuan, I want to follow up on that point. You said that you like facts, not feelings, but a lot of voters vote on their feelings. And in your most recent op-ed, you quote Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer describing this time as one of the most productive stretches in Senate history. But according to Gallup, 79% of Americans disapprove of the way Congress is doing its job. Democrats have that majority in both the Senate and the House. Do you think your fellow Democrats understand the deep distrust and dissatisfaction among Americans?
When you do campaigns, as long as I have been doing them, you learn a few things. One, you learn people hate the Congress, but they love their congressperson. Two, it's easier to be angry than informed when it comes to issues and when it comes to politics in general. And so that's why I wrote the piece. As Democrats, we have to stop trying to give people a sugar high in the polls and really give them pieces of this to digest, because in the long term, it's good for the political bill of health. When I look at what we've done with the bipartisan infrastructure, what we've done with IRA, what we've done with the American Rescue Plan, what we've done with the CHIPS Act, all those things are very popular at homes. In fact, when it came to the American Rescue Plan, as I've pointed out on several occasions, there were many Republicans who voted no, yet took the dough. And when people say Democrats have no message, it's because we haven't used some of our most effective messengers to actually push out the message in a way where it meets people where they are. Not speaking to the folks on K Street, but speaking to the folks on my street. And there's a lesson for us not to repeat the sins of our past when it comes to how we distribute the message. Because with message, you're able to gain mobilization. And then mobilization most of the time leads to money. And when you put those three things together, mobilization, message, and money, you have yourself positioned for a 50-50 jump ball on Election Day.
So let me ask you specifically, Antjuan, about messaging when it comes to the Inflation Reduction Act. You talked about this a moment ago. There are already, as you know, Republican criticisms looking at various aspects of what is essentially a very complex piece of legislation. What do you think the Democratic strategy should be with respect to the messaging on this? Because we have seen in the past how Republicans have been effective in framing large pieces of legislation like this and using that framing against Democrats in various election cycles.
Well, they demonize the Affordable Care Act, yet you cannot find a Republican as a whole in a group who want to get rid of it, even though they campaign on it. And so I use the Inflation Reduction Act I view it in the same lens. We have to talk about the elements of the fact that not a senior in this country, Democrat, Republican, black, white, or brown, will pay more than $2,000 for their prescription drugs. That matters. Seniors do vote. We have to talk about this as the largest investment in dealing with the climate crisis in our nation's history. The fact is, as we stand here today, wildfires, floods, and other things are taking place, and those things are happening in Democratic areas as well as Republican areas. No one wants those things to continue to happen. When we think about the fact that it's going to put a cap on insulin drugs, not just Democrats have to deal with the issue of diabetes, Republicans do too. And so we have to make these things applicable to people right where they are. And that means district by district, race by race, breaking this large plate of food down so that it is digestible for every individual constituency and in district in this country.
As you said, a lot to digest there, though. It'd be interesting to
Absolutely.
see that message evolve.
All right, Antjuan.
It's
always
all
good to have you.
digestible. Thank you.